Shame dies on exposure. So when you expose your fears, the parts of you that are shamed, there's no more energy around it. There's no more, there is nothing left. So if I expose parts of me that I'm so terrified of people finding out, I'm free. You know? So the more we speak our truth, which is really our magnetism, how do you want to attract things to your life? Speak truth. Truth is magnetic. In a world of masks and bullshit, frankly, truth stands out. And so part of that process in the morning, if you wake up and really ask yourself, like, what is true? Where am I lying to myself each and every day? You're trapped because you're not telling the truth. And you are responsible for your truth. Nobody else can give that to you.
Ooh, that's a hell yeah, guys.
Hello, 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 everybody. This show has been created to inspire you to take action.
Celebrating and reframing what success looks like.
To be the best version of ourselves that we can be.
And we have incredible speakers for you tonight. Hello everyone. Welcome back. We are very excited to welcome you to the next episode of the Future Female Show. You know what this is all about. It is about celebrating, it is about reframing success, and it is about telling stories of incredible women doing unique things and really changing the game. So we're your hosts. I'm Lauren Dallas, and this is Susanna Kennedy.
Hello! So wonderful to be back with all of you tonight. Everyone in the studio audience and everyone out there who's watching the recorded version of this, we're really excited because Annette actually crossed our path a while ago, and we've been kind of watching her work, and it's kind of saucy, ladies, but it's also really grounded and wonderful and honest and good. She's an embodiment and empowerment coach. How cool does that sound as a title? It's really fantastic, and she's got a unique approach that she uses the shamed archetypes to help you access those parts of you that you don't embrace and start embodying these things so that you can truly stand in your power. So we're going to chat a little bit more about that, but I think first let's just welcome Annette. Welcome to the Future Female Show.
Welcome.
How are you doing?
Thank you. I feel very honored to be here after such incredible speakers, and excited to share a little bit of my own wisdom. You go.
I can go. Gosh, Annette, when you came up here, I said it takes a stage for us to finally have a conversation, because we've been crossing paths like this, I think, for probably 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. You've been doing this work for a long time. There is so much that I want to talk about. For everyone here, myself included, can you describe a little bit about what an embodiment guide is and the work and the practices you actually do?
I was thinking about this, and I actually want to invite us to experience our bodies, because ultimately my work focuses on being in your body. And it seems kind of simple, but so many of us live so much in our heads, and due to a life that's on a phone or due to trauma, we actually disassociate from experiencing the aliveness of our bodies. And so I want you to actually take this opportunity to wiggle in your chair. There's been a lot of energy, there's been a lot of emotion, so just wiggle and actually start tapping on your collarbones. So also start sounding. Take a deep breath in and sigh it out. Another deep breath in. And sigh it out. I want to hear the sigh. How much energy are you storing on your chest? Are you holding your breath? So just feel your heartbeat. Take a moment to actually experience your body. Up here, I'm doing this for myself. I can feel the nerves. I can feel the tingling on my chest. And so to ground myself before I speak to you, I'm inviting this practice. because ultimately my work is to bring women into their bodies, to allow them to experience the joys and pleasures and pain of what it means to be a human in a body.
And this is such important work, because I'd love to ask the audience, how many of you feel truly connected and grounded in your bodies? Put up your hands.
There's a gentleman
There's
at the back.
a gentleman at the back.
Came in at the right time.
One guy, and we had one lady put up her hands. Now, isn't that scary? You know, that we as women do not feel connected to our bodies, do not feel grounded in our bodies for whatever reason, whether it's been abuse, whether it's been just society, whatever it is. So this is such beautiful, important work. And you use the archetypes, the 4 shamed archetypes, to access this work. Can you tell us a little bit, well, what is an archetype? I know, because I've worked with these things, but for the audience out there, what is an archetype? And how do you use them?
Yeah, so an archetype, if we want to get technical, Carl Jung actually spoke about archetypes, and it's the collective unconscious symbols, behaviors, traits, parts of our personality or the way that we operate. And I kind of created, through an amazing teacher that I met, these modern archetypes, because we're living in the modern era, and I work with women and I see that there's still a lot of shame around particular archetypes. And I've always called myself a witch. That's actually how I define myself, and that used to trigger people and scare people. And I realized that there are these archetypes in the feminine that have been shamed to really oppress women and take away power. And the 4 that I like to work with are the witch, the bitch, the slut, and the dyke. And
the dyke?
The dyke, yes. And the dyke is interesting, and we'll go into it. But ultimately, if I were to redefine and really look at where the power is in these archetypes, the witch was pre-patriarchy, the healer, the woman who knew how to connect with the earth, the woman who was spiritually connected and received intuitive messages and trust those intuitive messages. And it's triggering. I know many people might think, what? Like, how can you even use those words? And I realize that that's how we as women hold back from these parts of ourselves, these powerful parts. The slut is a woman who is not afraid of her pleasure. She's not ashamed of being a woman who enjoys pleasure. A bitch is a woman who can speak her truth. And that's triggering to a culture that has brought women up to fear these powerful aspects of who they are. The dyke is a woman who loves women. And all of us here are realizing that we've been brought up in a culture that has separated us, has plotted us against each other. And if you look at the dyke through the lens of patriarchy, it assumes women having sex with women, because men think if women are close, they must be having sex. But actually, the dyke is just a woman who loves women. She's able to be intimate with her sisters. She empowers her. She helps her to rise, supports her business. So it's really, about finding the shame in women to then actually move through that.
In essence, we are actually trying to cultivate dykes in all of you.
Absolutely. But I think thank you for going into each of them, and I know we'll go even deeper, but what I think is really important is that they might be called the shamed archetypes, but it's actually about celebrating those parts of ourselves as the unity of the divine feminine. And that's, I guess, something that I had misunderstood earlier on in my journey. So maybe for everyone here, how do you kind of use these to get to that point?
Yeah, it's important to understand that we often look at the divine feminine as just the love and light, but we've been speaking a lot about the shadow and the shamed parts of ourselves, and I like to think of myself as an agent of the dark feminine, because without the shadow we can't be whole. And what is hidden in the shadow is what actually directs our life. So if there is a part of you that you've shamed, like, I'm not allowed to be pleasurable, that's gross, that's slutty, you are denying an aspect of your femininity, of your womanhood. And so what I do with women is oftentimes they sneakily follow me, but they are really triggered and annoyed by what I do because it is quite out there. And then slowly but surely they realize, like, hold up, there's a witch inside of me that actually knows that I'm a healer. But I'm so terrified of being burnt or shamed by a culture that fears my spiritual gifts. And so just by naming these things, a word is a spell. And I remember one of your last speakers said that your word is your wand. And so I use the words because the words hold power. So a lot of my work starts literally with the word, which then brings you in to realize, hold up, there is this slut part of me that is really triggered, and now I want to explore that. And then I do work of embodiment, which looks at touching your body, feeling your skin, breathing, slowing down, receiving. If the bitch calls you, it's about stop being the bloody nice girl. Where are you constantly going outside of yourself to serve others, but inside you're dying? You're resentful, you're exhausted, you're constantly, swallowing sand, as my friend says. And I'm here to help women stop swallowing sand. And yeah.
That's a hell yeah moment.
No, that is a hell yeah moment. It's one of the things that I've been really working on is getting comfortable with disappointing others, right? How many recovering people pleasers are out there? Recovering people pleaser myself. This is why we teach these things, is because we've had these own struggles ourselves, right? But what we resist persists. And you were speaking earlier on about, women going, oh, that's really poking me, that's really triggering me. But the universe has this incredible way. I always say it's like getting a splinter in your toe. When you get a splinter in your toe, that toe is going to find every wall, every table, because your body's saying, get it out, it's not good for you. It's the same as if you've got a wound, an emotional wound, a mental wound. The universe is going to let you bump into things and say, hello, you need to pay attention and you need to look at these things. But when something triggers you that much, how do you help women find their way in? To really start going, okay, I'm so triggered by this, but how do I make friends with it? How do I start inviting it into my being?
Yeah, it's a beautiful journey, and I've been studying trauma and somatics and realizing that it's a slow process. You can't quick fix anything, and part of my work is working with the earth and the elements, and so we have to release the shame. We have to release the rage. The bitch is fucking angry, frankly, at a culture that has for centuries oppressed us. We don't talk about what happened to women, before the patriarchy. It just is a construct we all live by, but there's trauma there, there's pain there. So a lot of what I do is get your hands in the soil and scream, cry, bleed your period blood onto the earth, as crazy as that sounds, but that's your connection to Gaia. Your minerals are what, you serve her through this connection of reciprocity. So it's pretty radical stuff, and it's rituals, it's returning the feminine mysteries, the feminine education that was lost or stolen or burnt, frankly. And yeah, I think I don't look for my people. They come to me when they're ready, which is why I have to just trust. I trust that, when you feel the call to embody the parts of yourself that you have hidden in the dark, you will find your way.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think, actually, I have a question for everyone. How many people have manifestation or visualization or affirmations as part of their practices? Just put your hands up. Hell yeah to that. And I think that's very important, but I have been doing shadow work for a couple of years now, and something that I have learned is that a lot of those processes are being done by the head, which is where your ego lives, your masculine lives. And so if you're doing that work and you're still not quite achieving what it is that you're aiming for, then it's actually because it's not in your head, it's in your heart. And your heart is the level, and you'll probably correct me if any of this is wrong, but this was my takeaway, where you are suppressing, and you have been suppressing since you were young. And your heart manifests more powerfully than your head. And so we have to work on that reintegration, which is my understanding of shadow work. But maybe you can speak a little bit more about that. What is shadow work, the benefit, and how do you start?
Yeah, I love that heart piece. There's actually a quote by Jung that says, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." So we think that we are manifesting our life from the conscious mind, but actually it's our belief systems that live in the unconscious that actually create our reality. So until you look in the dark corner and the hidden closets, your manifestations won't come true. What will manifest is the stub in your toe, the splinter, because that's the belief system, that's the shamed part of you that needs to be integrated in order to actually be whole and be free. So it's all good and well to do the love and light, but we have to look at the other elements and think of it simply as when we experience trauma, a part of us splits. It's like a split in the psyche, and we fear and shame that part, that little girl, that gross, that dirty, that unworthy part. And that's a part that we carry around, but we hide it. And healing is the process of actually turning to her and embodying, integrating, acknowledging, forgiving, accepting. And that's the process of true healing.
I love that you're saying that because, and I loved what you said as well about the heart, the mind, and your work is in the body. And there's this saying that says when your thoughts and your words and your actions are in alignment, you know, you manifest things, but it's your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your body, your soul. It all connects. It's like having a tap, right? And if only two of them are in alignment, it's dripping. But when all of them are in alignment, it's flowing. And so many people want to get into that flow of things. What would you say is the first step that women can take to just start accessing that? Because every archetype, every aspect of ourselves comes with a gift and a shadow, right? So it's about us embracing it so that we see the gift within it, so that it loses its shame, so that it's no longer in the darkness, but actually can be in the light. So what is the first step towards that?
Yeah, I always start with the simplest thing, and that's, waking up and actually connecting to your heart, to your body, placing your hand on your chest. We have ideas of who we are or what we think we want based on external constructs, parents, culture, ideas, media. And our true desires live inside of our bodies. So if you can take a moment when you wake up, tune in, take a breath, really ask yourself, what is it that I truly desire? And sometimes it's the simplest things. It's, I want love. I want to feel loved. I want to feel nourished. Make a meal. Do those things first, because then you will actually pursue the thing you truly desire. And rather than, trying to do and get all these external things that don't really validate us, the true validation comes from the connection we have to ourselves, to our hearts, including the pain that is felt in that morning when you feel like, whew, there's a lot of grief here. There's a lot of grief that needs to be processed so I can actually access who I really am, what I really want.
Amazing. I love it. You're reminding me of something that came up for me in shadow work is this constant need to escape. Like no matter where I am, I'm always like, how can I be free and break these shackles? And it's always been this dichotomy that I have had to deal with. I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel that. We are intentionally outside of the system. But someone once said to me, hold your breath. and inevitably you have to breathe out. And he said, and I sent this to a girl on my team as well, you need structure, breathing in, but you also need the freedom, breathing out. And I thought that was such a beautiful way of looking at the dichotomy that can come up when you start doing this type of work. But maybe to take it back to you, if these things do come up, and I think if we all look deep down, we have these desires that maybe do bring a little bit of shame, or we're like, oh, don't know if people would accept that. What do we do then? How do we integrate or act on them?
Yeah, so people always ask me, like, how did you feel so free to call yourself a witch or do the work you do? Like, how do people accept you? I don't get comments on my Instagram posts anymore because I've energetically integrated and love myself deeply enough to not, it doesn't come into my realm. And so, again, it really is the process of coming back inwards, and journaling is a great tool of learning about yourself. If you feel triggered by other people, think about the people you keep, the company you keep. I mean, that's another thing. We are creating our reality. It's our responsibility to acknowledge where things are not working. And that's the boundary boss, the bitch. It's having the resilience to know that there is death, there is change, there are endings to facilitate the rebirth. So I always think of nature. We avoid change. We avoid letting go of a relationship, letting go of a job, changing our eating habits, like these simple things. But we have to allow the process of letting go in order to actually embody and find these other parts of ourselves.
You know, when you were speaking there, I didn't want to interrupt you, but you reminded me of Eminem, and I know that sounds like a big reach.
Eminem.
But I don't know if you guys watched 8 Mile, but there's that scene at the end where he's having this rap off. And I touched on this earlier on, and I just think it's so important to speak our truth, to speak the truth, right? And nobody could harm him after that because he had spoken the truth. The truth was out there, and nobody could dispute the truth. That was just what it was, right? And so there's such a freedom in owning and going, I'm a witch. Okay, so what are you going to say? I'm a witch. What are you going to... You can't harm me now.
I'm a sexy
I'm a witch.
slut.
You know? Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm a badass bitch. You know, like, come at me, you know? There's something powerful about just speaking that truth. But so many women are trapped in their throat chakra, or like they just cannot voice that truth. And it really takes others, I think, being honest, like you, and saying, I'm owning that this is who I am, like our lovely Yummy, also owning that this is who she is, right? And each and every one of you out there have that ability, and I don't know each and every one of you personally, but to really just own it within your own space. It doesn't have to be in a public space. It can be just within your family or your community, and there's freedom to be found there. And if you don't, then you're going to knock every table with that toe, right?
Yeah, I really love what you said, and it reminds me even what Gavin was speaking about. Shame dies on exposure. So when you expose your fears, the parts of you that are shamed, there's no more energy around it. There's no more, there is nothing left. So if I expose parts of me that I'm so terrified of people finding out, I'm free. You know? So the more we speak our truth, which is really our magnetism, how do you want to attract things to your life? Speak truth. Truth is magnetic. In a world of masks and bullshit, frankly, truth stands out. And so part of that process in the morning, if you wake up and really ask yourself, like, what is true? Where am I lying to myself each and every day? You're trapped because you're not telling the truth. And you are responsible for your truth. Nobody else can give that to you.
Ooh, that's a hell yeah, guys. Woo! That is amazing.
We just
Shame,
give a little, like,
yeah. Shame dies on exposure. Annette, obviously you've been in this space for a long time. I'd love if you can just share some of the work. And I know Susanna actually recently attended a workshop of yours as well. But can you talk a little bit about the work that you do with women?
Yeah. So I do lots of different things. If you really want to come and play and have fun, I actually just started a business with my partner called Ritual. And I just want to bring people together. My human design, I don't know if you know that, is a networker. I just want to create spaces. So what I do ultimately is create spaces for you to come and be in your body, dance. It's a sober event. We return ritual, the simple practices of singing, dancing. Healing, we think, is so complex, but actually it's really simple. We did it as Indigenous people, danced, had full moon ceremonies, lit a candle, prayed. So everything I do is really about returning that ancient wisdom. I run workshops, singing. I'm doing a wild and rooted retreat now, which is just getting women naked in a waterfall, loving your body, looking at other bodies, realizing, hey, I've got so much shame about this part of my body, but no one really cares. We've all got beautiful bodies. We are nature. My foundation is that when women love their bodies and stop trying to carve and shape and harm their bodies, we will stop harming the earth, because women are the embodiment of the earth. We are life,
It's amazing.
Isn't that beautiful? So beautiful.
So Annette, where do you want to take this? Obviously, I know you have a massive vision, but what is the end state, or at least end state for you?
Yeah, I guess it's just freedom and liberation for all, and connection. Because when we're connected to our bodies, we care. We don't harm each other. We realize that that's not cool. We don't throw our litter on the ground. We, honor the waters that we drink. We care about the food that we eat. And everything else that seems so big out there, we start to shift just with the little tiny movements each day. And that requires, being in your body. So that's where I start, I guess.
I love that. One of the things that I did experience at your event was drinking your beautiful potions. And I am going to call them potions, guys, because drinking, and I bought 3. I don't know how many you have, I think 5, but I bought 3 of the 5 because they really were like instant nourishment. When you drink something and you can just feel it's nourishing your body in a good, delicious way. And so I really highly recommend that you ladies get hold of Annette and speak about her beautiful potions. But also, just on that note, really think about nourishing your bodies and remembering that everything from the touch that we give our bodies, to the words that we speak to our bodies, to the food that we consume, you are what you eat, you are what you consume in every sense of the word. And so really focusing on nourishing. And Annette, I know you do so much work around that, and I maybe just want to end with that, is do you have, because we've only got 2 minutes left, we could speak for hours, but do you have something that, and I so have another question, Lauren, full body orgasms. Guys, full body orgasms. I so want to speak to Annette about full body orgasms. I mean, who doesn't want to experience that? Anybody there? Hi. So maybe let's leave the nettle thing. How do you get to but do speak to her about it.
Well, it's linked.
But it must be linked. How do you get to that state? Because I know a lot of women battle to have orgasms. They really do. It's a huge, huge, huge problem that women battle to have orgasms. And I get really upset about that. I want everybody to have orgasms.
I want to get to the answer in our 2 minutes.
Yeah, so it's actually, they are connected. I'm drinking oat straw, which is an infusion that helps to calm the nervous system. And often women think I want to have these blissful orgasms, and we push them out, which is great, but then you'll have a very short, quick, stimulated experience down there. Receiving is the full body orgasm. And what I work with the weeds, which are the potions you speak of, it's about calming the nervous system enough for us to actually receive. You can't experience a full body orgasm if you can't feel your heart or your belly. So it's a journey of meeting the different parts of yourself that are numb or painful or just disassociated from you. but ultimately, pleasure is multifaceted, and I like to not focus just on the orgasm, because the whole journey to the orgasm is beautiful. Yeah. But full-body orgasms are great too.
Well, so great.
I'm glad that we got that in. And I think, it circles us right back to where we started, right? Which is just, you have to be in your body to experience a sensation, whether it's an orgasm or pleasure on any other level. So thank you for that. I know we are almost out of time, so just want to say thank you on behalf of all of us for coming on here and just speaking so openly and asking questions that probably for a lot of women are not that easy to ask, but for you are very natural to answer. So thank you so much.
Thank you for being brave to call me on, because a lot of people avoid me.
Annette said, am I allowed to talk about these shamed, archetypes? I was like, hell yes.
Thank you.
Hell yes.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much to everyone watching at home and our live studio audience. This was the Future Females Show.
Thank you.